Hello guys, this is part 16 of edu.net tutorial. In this video we will discuss accept changes and reject changes methods. This is continuation of part 15, so please watch part 15 before proceeding. To understand accept changes and reject changes methods better, we need to understand row states and row versions. Every data row that is present in data table of your dataset has got this row state property. The MSDN link that you see right here, this one, this MSDN explains the different value of this row state property. We will examine this link in just a bit. Let's flip to Visual Studio. This is this same application that we worked with in the previous session. Let's drag and drop a button control. Where is the button? Okay. And go to its property and check the name of the button. It is button 1. Okay, right. So we have drag and dropped a button control. And let's double click that button to generate an event handler. Double click at here. Now within the click event handler, we are going to retrieve the dataset from cache. And then we are going to use a for each loop here. So for each data row, let's call it dr in ds dot tables of means first of all we need to copy this one, means we write here copy this, and paste it here, right here. So we are so now we are going to use a for each loop here. So for each data row means for each data row let's call it dr in ds dot tables. Dr in ds dot tables tables of what is the name of the table within the dataset? Students. 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 So loop through each data row that is present within the table student. So dot row. Okay. And then we want to print the row state of every row, and to retrieve row state, we are going to use row state property of the data row object. Dr dot row state So let's convert it to string. Sometime it get to string. Okay. And to print this on the web form, let's use response.write. So response.write. Also print student ID along with row state property value. ID and let's also use an student ID and row state property value with a dash. Means let's convert that to string. And let's separate student ID and row state property value with a dash. Okay, and let's also use an HTML break so that the output of every row comes in a separate line. All right. Here is the HTML break. Slash what is happened to it? right. So with these changes, let's go ahead and run the application. So run the applications. Okay, there build some errors. Check these errors. Which data is data row? Okay, dr.row. Okay. Rows. It should be a rows. Okay. Now again run it. So click the get data from database. So data is loaded from the table TBL student. From this TBL students. So now after the data is loaded in the data set, we did not change any of the rows. Now when we click this button, if we click this button, look at that rows 1 to 5, all of them, the row state is at moment unchanged. If I click this, so look at that, rows 1 to 5, all of them, the row state is at the moment unchanged. Okay, so now let's actually edit so let's actually edit one of the row. Let's click update, means and change the name from Mark Hastings to Mark. Means if I change it to Mark and click update, so we have modified the first row. Look at that, the first straight row is modified, but the rest of the rows are unchanged. Means if I click this button, look at that, the first row is modified and rest of the rows are unchanged. Now let's actually if I delete the second row and means if I delete the second row and I click this button, look at that, we get an exception, and that is basically because for a deleted row there will not be current row version. It will only have original row version. But if you look at this piece of code here, means if in this piece of code here, response dot right, so it is trying to read the ID column value for a deleted row from the current row version, and that is the reason why we have this exception. We did not discuss about row versions yet. We will talk about them in just a bit, but first of all, let's go ahead and fix this exception. Let's flip to Visual Studio. Means Go to the Visual Studio. So basically within this for each loop, we are going to check row state. So row state object dot row state, if that is equal to means now if I write this here, if means we are going to check row state. So data row object dr means data row object dr dot row state, if that is equal to look at the different version of the row state. If you type here data row state deleted, so there are several of them, different values of the row state. There are several of them. We will talk about all of them in just a bit, but at the moment if the row state is deleted, and what we want to do is we want to retrieve the id column. id column value from the original data row version. Okay, else retrieve the id column value from the current row version. The default is current row, so basically we have not specified that, so it is going to try and retrieve it from the current row version. So here we going to We have, okay, what is going wrong? If data dr, it should be only dr, means data row. Dr dot row state is equal to data row state dot deleted. We want to do is we want to retrieve the ID column. Okay. This portion will be in else part. So what we want to do, we want to retrieve the ID column value from the original data row version. So original row version, okay. So response dot write I'm saying what we want to do, we want to retrieve the ID column value from the original data row version. So retrieve ID from original data row version. Data row version dot original and convert it to string. Same piece of line code here. Separate this data row version from the row state. Dr dot row state, convert it to string, and same thing is that give a HTML break, give it a HTML break. Okay, and we have the ins else part, it is this one. In the else part, retrieve the ID column value from the current row version. This is the current row versions. Okay, the default is current row. So basically we have not specified that, so it is going to try and retrieve it from the current row version. All right, so let's go ahead and run this now. So let's run this now. We are going to run it. So get data from database, click this button. And let's delete the second row. Means if we delete the second row, click this button. What is happening to it? Check the coding once again. Okay. Have we done something wrong here? Okay. Current version is this one, dr id dot to string, separating the line, the row state. Okay, this is the correct. And what happened to it? Dr dot row state dot to string. Original is there, original data row version. If dr data row dot row state is equal to data row state dot deleted, so what is happening to it? I think if we run again it, then let's check it that. Get data from the database, delete the second row, and if click this, we are getting an error in 128 line. Why is this? I have written the right coding, response dot write the data row. Okay, what a foolish thing I am doing. It should be ID. Sometime it's getting little bit out of mind. Okay, now what we need to do, save the changes and run it once again. Let's close this one. Get data from database. If we delete the second row and click the button, okay, the second row is deleted. Look at that, second row is deleted and the rest of the rows are unchanged. Okay, so we have discussed about modified, deleted and unchanged. Now let's discuss about added row state. So once we have retrieved the data set from the cache, I'm going to create a new data row. Let's, okay. So what we will do, we go to Visual Studio. Okay. So here we will write here. So let's discuss about edit row state. So once we have retrieved the data set from the cache, I'm going to create a new data row. Let's call it new data row. New data row. Dataset dot tables of student spelling table of students dot new row. So new data row. So new data row of ID, new data row of ID. Let's set the ID for this new data row to 101. Okay. And then let's associate the new data row with this table, student table. Okay. So we are going to associate this new data row with this table. So basically we want to add it to students table. ds dot tables and look at this. So this table, look at this. So this table uh, student, this table students, the data table has got a rows property. Means if you look at this here, and if you write this and check it the rows property as okay, student, student. Okay, so data table has got a rows property, and look at what is this row property returning. It is returning data row collection. Okay, row properties, it is returning data row collection. Here you can see it. So basically, to the data row collection, add this new data row. Means add this new data row to the data row collection. What method we are using? We are using add method. So we are using add method. Basically, at this point, we have just added this new row. We have just added this new row to this table. Okay, we have added this new row data to this table. So the row state of that row, so the row state of that row should be added. So let's actually run this and see if that is what we get. So now run it and let's see what we get. So get data from the database. And click this button. Okay, we again got an error at this line. So go to the 126 line. Okay. Dataset.tables students spelling. It should be S. It should be S. Okay. Now go back to close this, and now run it again. Get data from database. Okay, 101 added. What is the row state added? Okay. Now here we have added that row to data rows collection using add method. Okay, we have added the row to data rows collection using add method. So go back to your Visual Studio. So this is the add method. Now let's comment that line. Means we are going to comment this line. So we have just created a new row, but we have not associated that with a data row collection. So this state the row state of this state at this point is detached. Means the this row state of this row at this point is detached. It is not associated with any data row collection. So here the row state is detached, and to print the row state, since it is not part of the dataset object, it is not going to loop. Basically it is not included in the row collection. Here this for each loop is not going to print this new data row state. So let's go ahead and print that data row state. So response.write means go response.write new data row new data row dot row state dot to string. Convert it to string to str string. Let's run this. Now let's run this. So get data from database. Let's click this, click that button. Means if we click this button, look at that. What is the row state of that row? Means what is the row state of that row? What is the state of that row? New. It is detached now. It is detached now. Basically, it is not associated with any data row collection. So here is the MSDN link. Here is the MSDN link which explain all that row state property values. So this is the so here are the different row state value. Unchanged. No changes have been made since the last call to accept changes, or since the row state created by DataAdapter .fill. Okay. Added. The row has been added to the table, but accept changes has not been called. We did not include all accept changes. We will discuss that in just a bit. And modified. some of, some of the elements of the row has been modified, deleted. The row has been deleted from the table, and accept changes has not been called. Once we call accept changes, what is going to happen? It is going to reset the row state. We will discuss that in just a bit. And what is this detached? The row is not part of any data row collection. The row state of a newly created row is set to detached. After the new data row is added to the data row collection by calling the add method, the value of the row state property is set to added. Have seen that practically, and along these same lines, detached is also set for a row that has been removed from a data row collection using the remove method, or by the delete method followed by the accept changes method. Okay, so those are different row states, and along with the row state we also have row version, and here is the different row version. This Where is the different row version? Here it is. And these current and original row versions are very straightforward. So for every row there will be a current row version and an original row version. So original row version is going to contain the original values, and current row version is going to contain the current values. So basically, for example, when we edit a row, close this one, and change the name. For example, here I change this one, change this name from Mark Hastings to Mark. So the current value is going to contain Mark. The original value is going to contain Mark Hastings. Okay, so that is current and original. And this row version basically the current row version does not exist for rows. With a row state of deleted. Okay, they will only have original state. And if you remember, we got an exception when this code was, when this code was, when this line was not present. This line. When this line was not present, I am talking about this line, we have got an exceptions. When we have a deleted row, okay, That is because deleted row will not have current row version. So this piece of code here, so this piece of code here is trying to read the ID value from the current row version. Deleted rows will not have current row version. That is the reason why we had that exceptions. Okay, and original row version does not exist for rows with a row state of added. Okay, so for new version, for new row that we have added to data row collection, original row version does not exist, and that makes sense, isn't it? Okay, what is this proposed version? What is this proposed version? The proposed version for the row, this row version exists during an edit operation on a row, or for a row that is not part of a data row collection. So when is a row not part of data row collection? When you have not added it to data row collection. Yet using the add method, or if you have removed it from data row collection using the remove method, or if you have deleted it, and if you have called accept changes method, all right, and here we have default so this default row version for a particular row. The default row version for an added, modified, or deleted row is current. The default row version for a detached row is proposed. Okay, so those are the different row version, and these are the different row state. Okay, now let's look at using accept changes and reject changes method. First look at reject changes method. Now I am going to change the text on this button. I'm going to change the text on this button. So go to Visual Studio and go to the source. Okay, get to its property. So I'm changing its text to undo. Okay, and within the click event handler, so we have DataSet. Means go here. In the click event handler, so we have DataSet from the cache. So we are checking if this DataSet so what we so we have the data set from the cache. So we are checking if this data set has got any changes. Look at this method hash changes. So first of all, we need to delete this coding from here. Okay. So we have the dataset from the cache. So we are checking if this data set has got any changes. Dot hash. Look at this method hash changes. What is it returning? What is it returning back? It is returning a boolean, true or false. So since the data set is loaded, using DataAdapter fill, if there are any changes at all that we have made to that data set, then this method hash changes method is going this method is going to return true. For example, let's say I have edited some of the rows and I have deleted some of the rows, and then what I want to do is when I click this button, means if I click this button undo, okay, so if I click this button undo, we basically want to revert those changes. Okay, that is what we are trying to achieve now using reject changes method. So if there are any changes that are made to the data set, ds rejects, and look at that, the IntelliSense means go back to your coding. So datasets dot reject changes. So look at that IntelliSense says here rolls back all the changes. Rolls back all the changes made to the data set. Since it was created, or since the last time accept changes was called, we will discuss accept changes in just a bit. Okay, so once we have rejected the changes that were made to the data set, what we want to basically do is store the data set back in the cache. And here is the code to store the data set, means go up in row deleting event handler. Now copy this code and paste it here. So let's paste that well there. We have pasted it. And let's reload data from cache. And to do that, we are going to use load data. So what is that method to load data from cache? Get data from cache. Where is the get data from cache? This one. We need to copy this and paste it here. So let's invoke that method. Okay, so we have invoked this here. So if the data set has got changes, then this what we are going to do else is else let's actually make some changes to the HTML of this web form. Means go back here, go to the source, bring this label to the next line. Let's put an HTML break. BR HTML, we put the HTML break there. Let's set font bold to true. Yeah, F font bold to true. Okay, so within the label control, so go back to your, so within the label control, if the data set DS has not got any changes, and if somebody clicks undo, then on that label I want to include this text, means LBL message. I will, if somebody clicks undo, then on that label I want to include the text no changes to undo. No changes to undo. And let's also set the forecolor of the label to red. Dot forecolor to red. System.drawing color to red. On the other hand, if there are changes and if we have reverted them, then we want to say changes undo, and let's set the color to green. Copy this piece of code. Paste it here. Means if there are some changes and if we are if we have reverted them, then we want to say changes undone. And let's set the color to green. All right. So with these changes, let's run this, and okay. With these changes, let's run this. So let's run this and get data from database. So let's edit change the name mark as into mark. Let's update that. Let's delete second and third row. Now let's click undo. Look at that, changes undone. And whatever changes we have done, they are reverted. Okay. Let's get data from database. Now let's click this undo. Did we do any changes yet to this dataset? We did not. Alright, so when we click this button, undo, look at that, no changes to undo. So basically, what happens when we call reject changes method? So when reject changes method is invoked, row state property of each data row changes. Added rows are removed. Modified and deleted rows becomes unchanged. So basically, when we edit a row, when we edit a row, what is going to happen to the row state property of this row? It becomes modified. Okay. But then if we call reject changes, if we call reject changes, now what is going to happen? The row state of that row is going to become unchanged. uh, means if we click so it is going to revert the changes back. Okay, so once we click this undo button, the row state of this row is now unchanged. Means if we click and update and undo, so once we click this undo, the row state of this row, first row is now unchanged, and all of the row anyway, means I have not clicked this. Is now unchanged, and all the row anyway, at the moment they are unchanged. Okay, now let's look at accept changes. So what is this accept changes method? So what is this accept changes method? Now this accept changes method is called by the update method of the DataAdapter object automatically. Now look at this. When we make changes to the database, look at this. Means again we make a changes and update. We have updated the database, but if you look at here, because I have updated the database, if I execute this, then it will show mark updated. Okay, so where it is updated only within the dataset at the moment. We have examined this. Now once we have clicked the button, because I have clicked this update database table button, if I had not clicked that button, then I would not have got any changes in this underlying database. But I have clicked this button, so database table updated. As you can see, the mark is updated in the dataset, so it would not be updated in the database underlying database table until unless I click this button. Okay. Now when we click this update button, I have showed you the click update button. What is going to happen? The value is going to be persisted in the database table. Means if I show you again it, edit and hasting and update it, if I check it in the database and execute this, so you can see there is no update in the underlying database table until unless I click this update database table. So as you can see here, if I again execute it, see it before, there is no, you will not see any changes here. If I execute this query, means I have updated the record here in the dataset as Mark Hastings. So let's see if this Mark Hastings appeared here or not. So I execute this query. So you can see there is no Mark Hastings, there is only Mark. So I go back to the table and click this database, update database table. So let's see what does happen. Now execute this, you can see here is Mark. If I execute the Mark Hastings, so underlying database is also getting updated. So what is going on? The value is going to be persisted in the database table. Now at the moment, what is the row state of this row? It is modified. So it is modified. Okay, so since I click this update database table, so the update method on the DataAdapter object is invoked, and then that is going to execute the update command, which is going to persist the changes to the database table, and a call to accept changes is also invoked. Okay, so the update method on the DataAdapter object is invoked, and then what is going on? What is going to execute? The update command, which is going to persist the changes to the database table, and a call to accept changes is also invoked. And what is that method going to do? It is going to this. So when accept changes is invoked, row state property of each data row changes, added and modified rows become unchanged because they are committed to to the database, and deleted row are removed. Deleted row are removed. Okay. Here you can see deleted rows are removed. Okay, now can we explicitly call accept changes? Absolutely. There is nothing stopping us calling from calling accept changes method. So what is this accept changes doing? So what is this accept change doing? It is resetting. Basically, it is updating row state puff property property of each data row. Okay, added and modified rows become unchanged and deleted rows are removed. Okay, so let's actually look at that. So we have the data set loaded from cache, and let's invoke accept changes. Means you need to remove this coding from here. So let's actually look at that. So we have the data set loaded from the cache, data set loaded from the cache, and let's invoke accept changes method. And to do that, again, let's copy this and let's put this back into cache. Means first of all, what we need to do, data set dot accept changes method, and let's put this back into cache. And to do that, again, let's copy the code. Means go up and copy this code, and go back to this button event, click coding and paste it here. You also need to copy this one also, get data from cache, and paste it here. So let's run this. Now let's delete one and second row, and let's update the fourth row. Means get data from database. Let's delete the first and second row. And update the fourth row. Means edit it, update it. Okay, at the moment all these changes are done only within the data set. So if you look at the data here, means in here in SQL Server Management Studio, so the underlying table is same. Okay, means if I execute it, we have done changes in our data set, but let's see, is it happened in the underlying database table? Means we will be able to change the data in the underlying database. So let's execute this. So as you can see, we have deleted the first and second row in the data set and modify and update the fourth row from RAM 0 to RAM. But here we have not seen anything changes in this underlying database table. So we have not updated that yet. Okay, now for the first second row, what is the row state? Deleted means, what is the row state? Deleted, because we have deleted those rows. And for the fourth row, what is the row state? For the fourth row, what is the row state? It is updated. Now when we click this button, what is going to happen? We are going to call here, we are calling accept changes method. Means if I click this, I mean we don't have any added rows, we only have modified rows. Means if I so we have only modified rows. What is going to happen to the row state? It becomes unchanged. And for deleted row, what is going to happen? They will be removed from the data set altogether. Okay, so now when we click this button, we have clicked it already. So row state for this row, means fourth one, is unchanged. For deleted rows, first and second, they are removed from the data set. Now when I click this update database table, understood? Means for the fourth row is unchanged. For deleted 1 and 2 rows, they are removed from the data set. Now when I click this update database table button, do you think the underlying database table will be updated? No, it would not. Okay. So it says database table updated. But if I click it here, it says database table updated. But look at what happens, the rows are not updated. Means if you go to the SQL data management studio, so look at that, look at what happens. The rows are not updated and first second rows are not deleted. As you can see in the fourth row, there is still RAM 0 and there are still first and second row appeared here. That is basically because accept changes resets or changes data row property values. Okay, that is because what we have done here, accept changes. Okay, accept changes resets or it changes data row property values. Added and modified rows becomes unchanged and deleted rows are removed. Okay, and remember both these accept changes and reject changes methods can be invoked either at the dataset level or at the data table or at a specific data row level. When we invoke these methods at a dataset level, they will get and automatically invoked for all the data table within that data set. And when you call them on a data table, they get automatically invoked for every data row. within that data table. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.